silver sing for justice. Keen to the scent, the hunt is my muse, a means to an end, this path that I choose, lost and aloof are the lusts of my past, wake the white wolf, remembrance at last. Wake the white wolf at the dawn of war, the end of the ages are coming now. Ravaging the river, scorching the shores, fires in the night, the torches of war. Ravaging the river, scorching the shores, fires in the night, the torches of war. Wake the wolf, wake the white wolf. Wake the wolf, wake the white wolf. Ravaging the river, scorching the shores, fires in the night, the torches of war. Ravaging the river, scorching the shores, fires in the night, the torches of war. Wake the wolf, wake the white wolf.
Good morning, friends, and welcome. I am mostly cut off. There I am. Hey, welcome to another painting stream. I'm Andrew, also known as Thanatos, here in the internet, and this is my painting stream where I paint miniatures occasionally, sometimes many weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern. Anyhow, here I am, and happy Labor Day to those of you who live in North America, in the United States. Happy Labor Day, and thank your friendly local union for making a day off possible. I'm very much in favor of unions. Good morning, Lobster of Revenge. How are you today? Welcome, welcome. I see we have some more obvious bot followers. Welcome if, there's any humans behind those bots. I think you will find this a thrilling stream to raid. Not really. Anyways, I want to jump into this because I'm a little bit late today getting started, and I missed Friday. I was very uncomfortably ill on Friday morning, so I wasn't able to stream. But I'm here now. That's the important thing. And I have a bunch of little minis to work on. I've been working on these. This is out of focus and very tiny. But these are the Astra Militarum portion of the newest Kill Team set. Let's pop over to Zoom Cam so that we can take a look at them. Hey, welcome to Zoom Cam. So these are the folks. I've got one completely done. I am not doing any more work on this one. And this was my sort of test, color test. This was the first unit that I started work on to give me an idea of what I wanted to do with these figures. And I'm pretty happy with it. So I have 9 more of these, because there's 10 units in all, plus a little duffel bag, because I made the medic who comes with his own little duffel bag. So the next stage for these is, and I don't know if you'll be able to see these, because these are some subtle things, but there's several things I need to do to these units to get them from this stage here to completely done stage. There's a bunch of little silver details that I haven't done on these guys. And it just involves a very small brush and a lot of tiny little pinprick details that I want to add on to them. So we're going to do that. There's edging and highlighting. You may be able to see it here. I've got a much lighter color edged in here to give a little bit of a light sourcing look. So we're going to do that. The base needs a little work. I spent some time off stream putting texture on all the bases. So all the bases have been textured. I used Sterling Battlemire to add some texture to them all. But right now it's very flat looking. I don't know if you can tell on this one. I've done some highlighting on the bases. So I need to do that. I'm gonna put a wash on the bases, and then I'm going to texture the bases. And then I'm gonna add some tufts. I have some Wasteland tufts, which are just perfect for Sterling Battlemire. I highly recommend getting some of these if you can. They are incredibly useful for making things look interesting, and it's such an easy thing to do as well. So yeah, and that's pretty much it. Edging and highlighting, silver details, wash and highlighting on the base, and some tufts, and then these folks will be done. Done. So I'm gonna start with that wash, which should be relatively quick. So my goal with the wash on the bases is that I am trying to make these look... I'm trying to make the bases pop a little bit. I don't want them to distract from the figures themselves. We're using a brown wash, Agrax Earthshade. Actually, shake that up a little bit. So when you first apply the texture, it is very monotone. It has some texture to it. These technical paints, the technical line of base paints from Games Workshop, they have suspended stuff in them, or they do something cool. So there's the Astro Granite, which is like this. It's like the Sterling Mud and Sterling Battlemire. They have suspended grit in them. So it sort of saves you a step. If you've watched this stream, you've seen me basing models by gluing basing grit down onto them. Just because plain flat bases are very boring. And you've got so much detail on the model itself, you really want something to make the bases match the model. Anyhow, so yeah, there are those that have suspension in them, and then there's a couple that are sort of crackle paints that split and crack as they dry. Trying to remember the names on the fly, and I recognize them if I saw them, of course, but I can't think of the names right off the top of my head. But having a texture is not enough. Just like with the model itself, you want to highlight that texture. Just like with the model, you're highlighting all the details by doing a wash and then doing some highlights. You want to do the same thing with the base, because a monotone base is very dull and boring. So I'm adding a quick wash, just being very liberal with it, to make the low points on the base darker. And then once that wash is dried, which it should by the time I am done doing edging and silver details on these pieces, once it's dried, I can do a quick dry brush to add a little bit more texture, a little bit more contrast. So, quick work here. I'm quite pleased with the results of my labors on these pieces. I've done a number of demo sets for the store that I work at, Battleground Games and Hobbies in Abington, Massachusetts, in the last few months of this stream. I worked on some Warcry. I did some Marvel Crisis Protocol, and I'll be getting back to Marvel Crisis Protocol. And over the course of this stream, it's taken me... I'm slowly learning and gaining the muscle memory and figuring out what I am capable of in a reasonable amount of time. And these units that I'm working on right now are sort of the culmination of that. My goal was to see how quickly I could get a small squad done. There's 10 of these, so it's not an army, but a small squad done to the level of detail that I kind of want them to be done to. Which is to say, table ready. You know, these are not going to be prize-winning figures. They look pretty good. I'm thinking about doing a couple little extra details if I have time, but for the most part, I was aiming for table ready. And my previous record in painting minis was the Raptorix minis from the Warcry demo, which I was able to do 3 in a 1 week span, which is to say, I didn't do anything on this fellow's foot. Oh well. 3 minis in about an 8-hour period, because I streamed 4 hours at a time, or 2 hours at a time, 4 days a week. So 8 hours to do 3 minis. And with these folks, I started them 2 weeks ago on a Thursday. Well, 2 weeks ago this coming Thursday. And I did one longish stream, about 4 hours. This does not include assembly. I did assembly at work, just sort of at the counter between customers. So not including assembly, I spent about 4 hours that first stream on these folks, and I've done 2 subsequent streams. I'll admit I have not streamed much in the last week or so, partially because I was sick, and that slowed me down a great deal. Though that was only the one day, that was last Friday. Anyhow, I did one 4-hour stream, and then 2 2-hour streams, and then there's today, which is going to be another 2-hour stream. And so that means about 10 hours spent painting these guys, not counting the time it took me to put the texture on these bases off stream, which was probably about 45 minutes or half an hour. I did that. I did that on Thursday night, or Thursday night last week, because I wanted them to be dry and ready to go last Friday, and then I wasn't able to stream on Friday. So about 10 hours for 10 figures, as opposed to 8 hours for 3 figures. I don't think these look as interesting as those Raptorix did. I did more, tricks, details on the Raptorix. They had a bit of wet brush fading going on them. They were just more interesting looking. I spent more time on their bases. Those Raptorix, I did a lot of work on the bases, just adding detail and stuff. But nonetheless, this gives me a good benchmark. If I want to do a squad of table-ready troops, it's about 1 hour per figure. Gives me a really good benchmark to work from. Alright, that's all the bases. With a wash on them now. Just be careful to close this bottle. We don't want a reoccurrence of the disaster with the blue wash. Some of you may recall that. There's a clip if you don't. Alright. Make sure to clean my brush. And now, it's time for some detail. We're going to start with the silver, which is gunmetal. This is from one of my first collections of paints that I bought about 3 years ago when I started painting. Don't really need that much. We're just going to be doing little pin pricks here, which means I need a very fine brush. I'm going to use my Wargamer Psycho brush. And I'm just going to, one at a time, pick out some of these little tiny details that I want to get. Maybe these little rivets I want to just touch. Like snaps or buttons or whatever these are. This is when I wish I had a magnifying glass on my workstation. These are the kind of tiny details that subtly make the figure look more interesting without actually popping out a lot. Oh, that's cool, Lobster. Glad you could stop by. Are you still at Molly's? Tell Molly hello. There's a lot of these little tiny pin pricks that I just want to get. Yeah. shouldn't be too time consuming. And once I've got all of these done, I can do that dry brushing and edging. I didn't do these before doing the wash because I really want them to be highlights. I didn't want them to disappear in the wash. I noticed when looking at these figures the other day, their chest plates have a little skull emblem here as well. It's not visible on all of them because a lot of them, their chest plates are obscured by their arms or guns or whatever. Alright, that's all the buttons. All the little brads. Let's hit a couple of things on the gun. And then we can move on to the next figure. Alright, let's look at our example figure and see if I've gotten all the bits that I wanted to get. Oh, I almost forgot. The last detail we're going to do is eyes. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Oh, he's got little brads underneath the emblem on his forehead. Okay, pretty happy with that. I think I'm gonna catch a couple more of these little rivety bits on the gun here. And move on to the next figure. Oops. It's fine. All right. 1 out of 9 done. I actually want to get a couple of those little rivety bits on this fella's gun as well. Cool. Okay. Coffee. Oops. Cat hair stuck in the paint there. So I mentioned it up at the top of the stream, but happy Labor Day to those of you in the United States, where we are observing Labor Day right now. Labor Day is an opportunity to thank those who do the day in, day out monotonous work that makes our economy go forward by providing them with a extra day off and celebrate their tenacity, I guess. And it is also a good time to think about how unions have worked to make labor more tolerable. I am very much a pro-union person. I know that unions get a bad rap sometimes. Ooh, you know what? I don't think I got the back of that first unit's helmet. I am very much of the opinion that the greatest accomplishments of humankind are achieved through solidarity, through working together. And that all people are deserving basic human dignities, even and perhaps especially those who do the backbreaking work that keeps our world running. We live in a very unstable, unequal time when the vast majority of resources and wealth are concentrated in a very few people. And I don't believe it's a sustainable paradigm. But I also don't believe that guillotines are necessarily the answer. I don't advocate for violent uprising. But I do think that people need to have a means to take back or to be rightfully compensated for their labors. And the way to achieve that, again, is through solidarity, through unions. Individually, the average person does not have it in their capabilities to fight massive mega corporations. So the only way to achieve any form of equity or equality is by working together with other people. So, thank your local union, join your local union, work with other marginalized people, do what you can to try and make the world better, not for a few individuals, but for everybody. That's my attitude. See you tomorrow, Lobster. Have a pleasant Labor Day. I actually do not have the day off today. So at some point, well, this afternoon I have to go into Battleground. Where I will help some people get games and stuff to make their afternoons more pleasant. That's one thing I definitely enjoy about my job. Is helping people find games. I mean, it's the primary thing I do in my job, so it's good that I enjoy it. I missed the pull on this grenade when I was painting earlier. It's okay. Can get those little touch-ups now. So when I was assembling these folks, and I got to the page in the instruction manual that said, add stuff. There's basically a page that shows you all the extra bits. And it's grenades and pouches and axes and shovels or truncheons. There's a whole bunch of extra things you can glue onto these models. When I got to that page, I had already assembled most of the squad. Well, I had assembled all of the squad. And many of them have their arms in positions that obscure their belts. You can see I can't actually get to the belt here. So I made the decision to glue stuff onto their arms instead of their waists. And at the time, I was iffy about the idea. I was like, I don't know, is this too busy? Does it make sense? Is it a little too Rob Liefeld to be adding all these pouches? But now that I am in the final stages, I feel like they look pretty good. And honestly, if you had like something glued to your, strapped to your arm, that's pretty accessible. Like in a battle situation, you could reach that. So I feel like it makes sense from a flavor standpoint. I'm pretty satisfied with it. Not super happy with the way his helmet looks. Maybe I want to touch that up a tad. Just the the eagle emblem on his helmet. I went a little overboard on the paint, and it doesn't look great. There, I fixed it. Perfect. It's 3 out of 9 done. Well, 10 if we count the valise. Actually, this doesn't have any silver highlights that I need to do. I'm going to do some dry brushing on it, but it's pretty close to done already. So I'm just going to move that over here already. This is one of the figures that I might do some extra detail work on. Figure there's a couple of figures that are kind of the highlights of this collection. And it's the medic, the demolitions expert here, the comms officer I was just working on. They're the units that have the most interesting bits to them. So they're the ones I want to do a little extra on. So for this fella here, I'm thinking about adding a reddish glow coming from the mine at his feet that he's laying, to sort of sell the idea that it's a live explosive. For the medic, he's got a headlamp, so I'm thinking about trying to give that a glowy quality as I'm doing these sort of final touch-ups and details. Oops. That was a little more silver than I intended to put there. We'll have to touch that up later. Okay. Looking pretty good. Five more to go. And then we'll do some dry brushing. Like I said, when I started this, I got out much more paint than I needed for this. I like doing these little fine details. It does involve a fair amount of concentration, so I apologize, chat, if I lapse into periods of silence while I'm trying to get all these done. had a lot of fun painting these folks. This has been a fun project for a quick paint job. Gave me an opportunity to paint a type of unit that I have not ever painted before. Like, Astra Militarum is not my aesthetic. It's not the type of unit I normally paint. I go for the more fantasy or sci-fi sort of folks, and Astra Militarum are the more traditionally familiar Earth analog units. And they're very much obviously inspired by real world military so you often see them painted in various camouflages. I went with something a little more colorful for these folks. I had to work in greens and browns and grays, and I think it came out looking great. Cool. 4 more. Here's our medic. There's actually a couple details that I want to do on this. I will say that the wash I did has made the attempt I made to put some subtle shading into his syringe sort of fade into the background. You can't really see some of the details I put in there anymore. It's okay. Alright, I've been debating about this, but I think I want to put a silver border on his medical readout here. This is a little nerve-wracking. This is too much. Yeah. Looks okay. Maybe tone it back just a tad on the corner here. That's fine. Okay. I realize I'm doing details that you folks cannot even see. I need to get myself a higher resolution zoom cam here. Someday. Someday. I will, of course, post higher res pictures to my Discord, so you'll be able to see them there. I'm just making this worse. Oh well. I feel like I'm getting sloppy now. Need to be a little more careful. So here you can see the little headlamp he's got on the side of his head there. Gonna do something with that. I think that's all the details I wanted to do on him. Cool. Actually quite happy with how the red and white logo on his helmet came out looking. I wanted it to stand out a bit, and I wanted it to match his medical bag. So I did this sort of, like that, red and white on his helmet to match his bag. So it was obvious that he's the medic. And I'm pretty happy with that, how that worked. Three more and then we can do dry brushing. It's a little bit ironic that the commander unit for this squad looks so generic. We'll get to him in a sec. He's the one with the chainsaw sword. I've spent a lot more time on the comms unit, the demolitions expert, and the medic than I have on him. He just looks kind of like dude with sword. Nothing much going on there. Ooh, that was a big blep. Not gonna let it slow me down. Okay. Progress. I'm definitely getting sloppier here. It is what it is. I've promised myself that I'll get a magnifying glass for my workstation. Make some of these finer details easier to do. I just haven't gotten there yet. Okay. Two more. Not my gumdrop buttons. with a greater and lesser degree of accuracy. I have mostly picked out all the little silver details I wanted to get. And we're just about ready to begin with the dry brushing. So these folks are almost done. Some of these I'm not happy with. It's fine. It's fine, everybody. Strive for perfection, but accept that you are human. What on earth? Had a little clump of something on the tip of my brush there. Bit of dust or whatever. Try and fix a couple of these smaller blemishes. There. Medicare, I definitely blapped a little bit outside. I wanted that to go. There. That's better. Okay. Last unit for this, and then we get to start on dry brushing, which hopefully go a little bit faster. It's not as precise. Dry brushing is fairly, I want to say dry brushing is a it's a shortcut, right? It's a way of getting detail on without being too obsessive about the actual application. Like here I am trying to do very tiny pin pricks. But when you get to dry brushing, as a technique, it's very forgiving. Because you're applying the paint in a very, I won't say haphazard, but a less controlled way. So it's a little easier to deal with. As you will see when I get started on it. We've got 2 dry brushing tasks. We have to add highlights to the models themselves and add highlights to the bases. this commander unit doesn't have a lot to distinguish him from everybody else aside from his sword here. His chainsaw sword. But I've added a lot of extra stuff to him. I added an axe. I gave him a sort of a chest communicator thing. Probably dry brush a little darker rust or something onto this. This is the air intake and vent for his chainsaw sword. So it should have a little bit of a dirtier look to it, I think. Especially right here. Not a rusty look, just a grimy look is what it needs. So we'll do something with that during last touches. Alright. I think I missed the back of one helmet, so I have to go back and find that and fix it. And then we'll do some dry brushing. We'll see how long that takes. And then I have to do your little eyeballs. Very smoothly. It's fine. Everything's fine, chat. Alright. Let's look at the back of everybody's helmet. And this one needs the back of the helmet done. Looks like everybody else is done. Cool. Okay. Oh. Quite pleased. All right, dry brush time. Trying to remember what shade I used. It's been almost 2 weeks, so I can't remember exactly what I was using. I'm using my Wargamer small dry brush. Yes, dry brushing is a shortcut to mushrooms, Amanda. Thank you. What color did I use for the highlights on this guy? It's a much lighter gray. I use deck 10? I think I might have used deck 10. It's almost white. Oh, that's not sufficiently mixed at all. All right, dry brush time. So I don't want to go overboard on this. For one thing, this is a very, very light color on primarily dark figures. But I want to add sort of a highlight. As always with dry brushing, my watchword is subtlety. That's less subtle than I wanted it. That's fine. Trying to just catch edges. Create some texture. Without going too overboard. And it's primarily on the front right of the figure that I'm trying to do this. Cool. See, that didn't take too long. Work on the fingers just areas where a small bit of dry brushing will make some details pop. Too much there, but that's okay. Yeah, far too much, far too much. It's okay. As always, I want the paint between the bristles of the brush and not on the surface of the brush. That's how you get the dry brushing to work. So you're not really painting the figure, you're painting just the edges. You want the paint to catch on the figure, on the areas that you want highlighted, but you don't want to be actually painting it, if that makes sense. Oops. That, for example, was too much. Pulling against the grain to try and get the paint to go only where you want it. good. It's 4 done. And then we'll dry brush the bases. Do their eyes. And maybe I'll have time to do a few other little fun bits. Especially around here. Cool. Really not doing too much with this dry brushing. I just want to get a few highlights. I'm doing their shoulders. Not too much. I'm doing sort of edges and highlights on the helmet. This guy's got a very different helmet. This is the demolitions expert. Very different helmet from everybody else. I'm doing, in fact, his whole mask is very different. I want to highlight that. Cool. He's got a sort of a skull motif going on in his mask. You can see what I was saying earlier, or what I was attempting to say earlier, about how much faster this is than picking out tiny details, because I'm just sort of brushing across wider swaths of the figure to try and get the edges in. It's much faster work. more in the medic's bag. And then we'll work on dry brushing the bases, which will be even faster. And then we'll do some tinier details. We'll do their eyes. Oh, this is not working. It's fine. Looking pretty good. Pretty good. That's fine. Okay. Now let's dry brush the bases. Can you believe how close I am to done on all of these? It's kind of terrifying. Alright, so for the bases I am adding a flat earth, just a light brown, over that sterling mud and, or is sterling battlemire, and the Agrax Earthshade wash. So again, dry brushing, quick, quick, quick. This does not need to be very precise. This needs to catch the tops of the texture here to make it look less flat. Also, going to put some brown onto the bottoms of their jackets, as if they've been running through mud. You'd have some brown here along the bottom of their jackets. And the cuffs of their pants. Yeah, it makes those bases pop. Cool. Oh, well, hello to my sister Molly, who may or may not be watching the stream. Thank you, Lobster. Molly, I don't know if you can see what I am doing, but I am adding a light brown highlight onto the texture of the bases of these figures, just as a last little touch. I've based these figures to make them look as if they are in a muddy swamp, or, you know, they're kind of figures that look like they might be involved in trench warfare. So I wanted to make the bases look trenchy, swampy. So I'm just adding a little texture to them. As a last little detail before we go in and do their eyes. We'll glue a couple of tufts onto these bases as well. Just as another last little detail. Also adding some mud to their jackets and feet. Pretty much done, though. So yeah, about 1 hour per figure average? That's not bad. That might got a little too much, that's fine. I think I'm going to add a little darker brown to these mud highlights that I'm doing. Almost there. Just need to do eyeballs and maybe some lighting detail on a couple of figures. Almost done with all 10 of these figures. This has been such an excellent project. So, chat, I had a very ambitious large-scale project planned for this month. I think I am not going to end up doing that. I think I am going to postpone that. I got a little burnt out last month on the fountain project. I'm going to go back to that tomorrow. So tomorrow we're going to go back to the Gunnarsson fountain that I've been working on since the beginning of last month. Add some more details to that, and we're going to start the resin pour, which I'm nervous about, but, you know, can't learn without practicing. But I'm going to postpone the larger scale project that I had planned for September. So once we're done with the fountain, which will probably be a few days, probably by the end of this week, maybe. I'm going to go back to the Crisis Protocol demo for Abington, which I had started work on. I've done 6 of the 10 figures, so I have 4 figures left. So we'll start assembly on those once we're done with the fountain. Looking forward to those. It's been so refreshing to work on these figures, to do a simpler, faster, smaller scale project that I kind of want to continue on in that vein. So we're going to do some Marvel Crisis Protocol. After we finish work on that fountain, we're going to postpone the larger September project that I had planned. And I'll start making plans for my October project, which naturally is going to be Halloween themed. I have a basic idea in my head I just need to make sure I have all the necessary supplies to bring it to fruition. So I've got plans for this month. If I finish all of the other 4 Marvel Crisis Protocol figures, I'll move on to the Crisis Protocol terrain. There's quite a lot of it. There's a Daily Bugle newspaper stand. There's some lamp posts. There's a couple cars, cement mixer, all these sorts of things that I need to make for Crisis Protocol. Dang nabbit. I really went overboard on his shoes, on the mud on his shoes. It's fine. There. Whew, that's all the mud done. What time is it? It's afternoon already? Where'd the time go? Well, let's do eyeballs. I want to make sure I clean my brush very thoroughly. One thing about dry brushing is since you're getting the paint in between the bristles to do the application, you end up with a lot of paint in the brush. So you have to be very thorough in cleaning it. Alright, I'm going to work on eyeballs next. So it's back to the Psycho. And doing Scarlet, which is a very, very bright red. And this is just quick blip blip pinpricks. And I just put my hand right in the paint. That's marvelous. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Finish my coffee. Think about what I'm going to have for lunch now, before I have to go into work. All right. All right. These eyes are far less stressful than most eyes, but that does not mean they're completely stress-free. They've just got these little lenses in their masks. And I just want to paint those red. Good. Ooh, too much, too much. It's fine. I can always go back in with black to tone it back. Okay, he's going to need a little bit of touch up, so I'm going to put him over there. Keep my brush nicely tipped. Nope. Not what I was going for. challenging. That's fine. How did I do it on the first one? Yeah, just the lenses. This is my demolitions expert. For him, I want to do something more with this. With the mine that he's standing on. Let's do that quickly. I'm just going to do a little dry brushing. Get this a light sourced look. I'm just dry brushing in a little red around his feet. It's a subtle look. Trying to make it look as if there's a glow coming from this mine here. I don't know if it reads or not. Yeah, it's fine. Back to eyes. This is the medic, and he's got that lamp on the side of his head. So for that, I'm gonna do some white in the center of the lamp. Oh, gracious, this bottle is stuck. There we go. I'm going to dry brush in a yellowish glow coming from it, I think. Hope this works. Now, not sure that reads. Blepped a little bit there, so I'm not super happy with it. Nah, it's okay. It's not the best I've ever done, but that's fine. Let's continue working on eyes. Don't need to do any eyes on that. That's the valise. It doesn't have eyes. Good. This is so much easier than doing human eyeballs. I mean, it still requires a steady hand, so I'm trying not to make them huge. But it's far easier. Excellent. think, chat, that these folks are pretty much done. I'm gonna tone back just a teeny bit a couple of the eyes that I did. By just painting a little black around them. But otherwise, I think there was one other thing I wanted to do. Well, and we're going to do some tufts. Okay. This is not the. I hate when the paint doesn't go where I want it to go. Alright, while I have the white out, where's my medic? Just want to do very quickly a tiny, tiny white highlight on this monitor. Make it look a little bit more reflective. I don't know if that reads. Oh well. Good, good, good. Whew. Gonna call these done. I'll get some nice high-res pics and post those for you today. Oh, let's do some tufts. Not on every figure. You don't want it to look monotonous. But these tufts, they're super easy to do. Basically, get you your tweezers, get you your tufts, pluck a tuft off the paper, and mash it onto the base, like so. It just adds a little texture. This guy needs just a teeny tuft on the front, I think. Cool, no? My goal is to make this look natural, so I'm being a little asymmetric, not putting them right in the middle. As you can see, the tufts come in a variety of different sizes. So sort of thinking about where they'll go best. Might want to actually add some glue. If any of these tufts pop off, I'll add some glue and glue them in place. Not going to put a tuft on him. If you have any bits of painting that you're not proud of around their feet, this is a good opportunity to hide it behind a tuft. And I do actually have one last thing I want to do on some of these. Which is that the paint came down onto the base a little bit in a couple of places. I'm going to very quickly use some black paint and do the edges of the bases just to make them flat and uniform. Lovely. So that's tufts done, eyes done, highlights done, washes done. And do the edges of the bases. And this army, chat, is complete. A little over 10 hours of work for 10 units. Not bad. So, thank you everybody for joining me this lovely Labor Day. It's been a fun time. I'm glad I was able to get everything that I had hoped to get done done. Some of it didn't work exactly the way I had imagined it in my brain. The light sourcing on the medic is not perfect. But for the most part, these folks now look the way I wanted them to look. Certainly they are table ready. And as usual, I could not have done this without your support, chat. Your company. Because having you here, keeping me company, is what keeps me motivated. I would get so much less done if I didn't have this to look forward to. Chatting with you, getting paint on figures. It's a fun time. Tomorrow, we'll be returning to that fountain diorama. So I look forward to seeing folks tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. This afternoon, there may be games on the Pie Palace over at twitch.tv/InsidiousSPie, but no guarantees. She has had a slightly stressful weekend of dealing with hurricane stuff at her father's old house. So Pie may not be streaming this evening, but Amanda certainly shall be over at twitch.tv/MerrimanLion. So I hope that we will see you there as she continues with Guards. Things are coming along quite well in Guards. Lord Veterinary has absolutely forbade Sam Vimes in no uncertain terms from continuing his research or his investigation into the missing firearm. We got to meet Leonard of Quirm yesterday, the Discworld's most brilliant inventor. And we'll learn more about all of that tonight at 10 p.m. over at twitch.tv/MerrimanLion. I've got a couple more figures here to edge the bases on. And then these folks are done. As always, with painting minis, done is a relative state. Done is, I am unwilling to put more work into these. Not, these are everything that I fully expected them to be. You reach a point where it's like, there's a point of diminishing returns. I could continue to try and do some details. There are some things I'm not 100% happy with. But for the most part, these are done. I'm going to bring them into Battleground. If you want to play with them, come on into Battleground Games and Hobbies in Abington, Massachusetts. These will be available to all who want to try out the new kill team. The orcs are not done yet, I don't think. Kevin is working on those. So I don't know what his timeline is. And the terrain, although assembled and primed, is not fully prettified. Derek, our erstwhile commander at Battleground Games and Hobbies, the owner, has said that he wants to complete the terrain. He's happy that we've got orc terrain because it's something that we haven't had in our sort of terrain collection. Oh, this guy's done already. Cool. Well, that took a little bit longer than I thought. And of course I was slightly late in getting started today. But all 10 of these figures are now complete. That was exciting. It was an excellent experiment. I am so pleased that I was able to complete them in a relatively short period of time. I would have been done with them earlier, but of course, I was sick and took a couple days off, whatever. They're done now. So, yay! Another collection complete, another project completed, and tomorrow we will be returning to this fountain that I am working on. We'll work on that a little bit more tomorrow, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern, here at twitch.tv/Thanatos. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. And as always, be excellent to each other. And enjoy whatever art it is you choose to do. I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye, everybody.